Today to have Tina to come and share with us her experiences. She wanted to keep this really simple and informal, but she will be very happy through casual conversations to share her experiences with you. Okay, so big hands for her before she starts.
Can you all hear me? All right. Okay, so hi everyone. Thank you for having me. And I actually only agreed to come because I so firmly believe that nobody wants to sacrifice their lunchtime for 1 hour chat on how to write SOP. But eventually you guys proved me wrong. So I'm also very happy for you to come here. And I hope this will be a useful and informative session for you. So I'm Tina. I'm senior from Money and Banking Department. And well, truth be told, I wasn't as lucky as you guys because now you have Allison and she has devoted everything she can into helping you write this SOP. But as in my case, I have to start everything from scratch on my own. And it was kind of really difficult for me. So yeah, you guys should feel that you're really lucky. Okay, so the whole process actually took me around 3 months from my first draft to the last one, and both of which I believe you've already read it in class and can tell a lot of difference in it. I put a lot of effort in it, and the last one is actually the 11th version of my statement of purpose. So that's how tedious this whole process is if you want to make it good. But everything will pay off because if you want to apply for more than one school, then actually you just need one version of SOP that's good enough, and then for the other school you just need to make some of the adjustments to it. And if you are thinking of applying for a job later on, you need to write a cover letter. A cover letter is a little bit similar to SOPs. You have to state your strengths and abilities, and if you have SOP already, then cover letter will be a piece of cake for you. So this is a very important things that you think of this essay. So I finished everything on my application last December, and luckily I was admitted to Imperial College London. I'm going this end of August. And so I'm here to share some of my learned lessons to you all, and hopefully this will make your work here a lot more easier. So today I think I'm going to talk for about 20 minutes, and the rest of the time we will have the Q&A session, so you can ask me any of the questions like regarding SOPs or any other from the application process. Okay, so before you pick up your pens and pencils, I would like you to spend some time thinking over the following questions. Why do you want to go to grad school? And why do you choose the schools or the programs? Where are you right now? And by this, I don't mean where you are geologically, but where your strengths and abilities are, and what are the things that you can carry into the program and benefit the whole program. And where do you see yourself in 3 to 5 years? This refers to the short and long-term goals, and how does getting a master help you in achieving your goals? So if we put this into a very simple graph, it should look like this. So this is you right now. And this is the goal that you want to achieve in 3 to 5 years. And here's the gap. So you have to identify the gap. You have to define your goal first, and then identify the gap. So then going to graduate school, the purpose of going to graduate school should, in the end, be filling up the gap, so that it either can make you ahead of your counterparts, or making you more competitive in the society or something. And as it is the statement of purpose that we're writing, the two things you want to focus is your intention and motivations. So bear in mind the above question I've just showed you, because these are the underlines of your whole essays. So when you're writing the SOP, you have to ask yourself over and over again about the 5 questions. Why do you want to go to grad school? What will it bring to you? What will it benefit you? And how, in the end, will it help you to achieve your goal? And there are numerous ways of forming an SOP. Mine is only one in a thousands, and you can find your own way of expressing yourself. But I believe that the basic logic applies to all. So I've organized it into 4 parts. I'm going to tell you later on. So if you still recall from the letter I wrote you, the very first step of everything is that you have to know your school well. And how well, you might ask? Well, you have to know it well enough that you can pick out 1 or 2 professors whose work you really admire. And by work, I mean the book he published, the lecture he's given, and the research he's done. Okay, you cannot see any of these on either my first draft to Princeton or the last one to ICL. Well, the reason is because the SOP to Princeton is my first draft, and I didn't realize how important this is later on. And I didn't write it in ICL either because it wasn't actually the first choice of my school, and I didn't pay that much attention on writing the SOP. But I'm going to give you examples on what I wrote for Stanford. So I actually also applied for Stanford Graduate School of Business and Marketing, and I run into this professor who I really like. He's Professor Baba Shiv, and I believe he's an Indian. He's an expert in the area of neuroeconomics. And I'm not going into the detail of what neuroeconomics is, but what I want to say is that actually all of these information can be easily accessed to in the school websites. And also, when you apply for prestigious universities, those professors are really famous, so you can just Google them. So if you can see, this professor actually gives a lot of open courses on YouTube or TED.com. So take some time going through those courses, and then the most important thing is that you will incorporate what you've learned into your SOP, and it should look a little bit like this. So you're going to talk about why you're interested in the professor's research and what you have right now in mind of doing research on your own, and then you're going to incorporate these two so that the school can tell that you really did your homework and you really have a plan and you're really serious into doing research here. So besides the professor, you have to know about your program. Every school has their own area of specialties, and they are proud of their certain achievement in individual fields. So you will have to figure it out. Let's say, for example, Princeton and ICL. They're both very proud of their quantitative training in the finance program. So you will have to highlight this and add it into your SOP. So in the quotation is what I wrote for ICL. So you can say either how much or how eager you are seeking for a more profound training in quantitative or in mathematical science, or that state that you are already really good in math and that you can add much value to the program. So by this, you've completed the most laborious part, because this is what you need to do research in, and you have to do it well. You cannot make any mistake on this. So the second part is to write about yourself. Well, actually, this whole statement of purpose is about you. But here in particular, I mean write about your strength and your ability. Write about you as a person and how you're different from the others. So usually the SOP has the word limitation into 1,000 words. So be generous to yourself and spare around 2/3 of it. So wisely use around 600 words to persuade the school committee why they should take you and not another candidate who graduated from Yale who has a GPA of 3.9 or a GMAT of 750. You know, you have to make yourself stand out from the whole pack of SOPs that the committee is going through. And so you need to focus on 2 things. One is the abilities, and the other is the personalities. So for the abilities, this is your strength. So you have to convince the school committee that you have the ability right now and you have the potential in the future, and that you can carry those things to the program and benefit all the students and the schools from your ability. And why is personality very important here? Well, because every school has their own culture. And they want specific students. So they want the students that will fit into their class. For example, Yale and Harvard. If you're applying for these two schools, they have totally different combination of students. If you have ever taken online courses from Yale, you can see a lot of professors when they are addressing examples, they like to take Harvard students for examples, and they will describe them as dumb and stupid. So you don't want to make yourself look like a Harvard student but apply for Yale, then you will definitely fail, no matter how good you are. So this is what I mean by personality. You have to show yourself that you are the kind of students they're looking for. And it's really hard, this is relatively hard because you cannot get the information online, but you can try to talk to as many people as you can. And then, or, find out a way to find out what kind of personalities they're looking at. So in my case, I talked about 3 things. Note that here 3 is the magic number for any form of presentations, because instinctively it is very neat. It is like a neat number of things to look at. It's better than 2 or 4. And for 5, I will say it's a little bit too many. So stick to 3 if you can. So in my case, I talked about my leadership skills and academic and analytical ability, my international scope and ability to work under pressure, and also by going bold and identifying the gap. So these are the 3 qualities that I abstract from a various of experiences I have. And then I state this in the bold type. And then I give them each very solid experience to back it up. So for the first one, I talked about my learning in NCCU. And for the second one, I talked about my experience at Harvard. And for the third one, I back it up with my internship at a bank. So the point here is that you have to pick and choose from a numerous of experiences and and then you have to back it up with solid examples so that you can show the schools that you really got those abilities. And so always remember to link back to the 2 things I've mentioned before. Prove that you're qualified and that you're the students that are cut out for them. As for the third part, it's to talk about your goal. However, you have to remember that you shouldn't think about what you're going to do here. Because if you do, you're going to run into a really big problem. Because if we bring everything down to the end, what you want to achieve is your goal. It's over here. And only by defining this can we identify the gap, and then can we choose the right school, and then write yourself into a certain type of students. So if you didn't go from here, then you'll have to adjust everything you just write, like the previous 2, and then it will cause a lot of problems because I've made this mistake my own. And then I just, when I wrote everything before about the schools and about myself, my advantages, but then when I go to my short-term and long-term goal, I don't actually know what I'm going to do. And then when I finally found a thing that maybe I want to do in the future, it isn't really related to that much to the previous thing that I wrote, so I have to rewrite everything again. So please don't make this mistake again. And that's why I want you guys to think of the 5 questions that I posted, that I'll show you in the very beginning. And then last thing, you want to wrap everything up. So give it an intriguing opening and a high-tone ending. Remember what I mentioned in the letter that you're writing for an audience? So keep things interesting. You can always add a little bit of dramatic stories to your SOPs, but you have to stick to the reality and avoid cliches. For example, if you really want to talk about your family, sure, it's a nice thing. If you think your family is an important factor that's formed you into who you are today, you sure have to mention it. But be aware that the school committee will be marginally less interested in how many siblings you got or which part of the country are you raised in. Or if you really feel like writing about those things, just make things related. And then, congratulations, you got your SOPs. So, the above 4 parts are what I think is the basic logic that applies for any forms of SOPs. And if you follow the step, especially the order, then I don't think you will run into that much of the problems that I have struggled in. So I'm going to stop here, and then I'm going to open for Q&A sessions. So if you have any question regarding the definition or things or application in UK or US, you can feel free to ask me.
You did really well. It was so nice. I have a first question.
Right.
So you talked about that you should find out, you should try very hard to find out the personality that the schools are looking for in their students. So do you have a specific way in doing so, or do you suggest any strategies in getting that information?
Okay, so in my case, because I have a little bit more chances to go to the universities in the US, and so I can actually interact with the students on campus. But then if you didn't have that kind of chances, it's, you can, I think when you go into this web page, there are always this column where you can find the admitted students, and they actually have a lot of contact information, and some of them write a blog. And so you can follow them, or you can just email them the questions, and they are very willing to help because I've tried one or twice. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So how many programs school you apply?
I'm sorry?
How many schools do you apply?
I applied for 10.
All
Okay.
the ones.
I can count it for you. Harvard, Stanford, Columbia, Yale, MIT,
One.
Berkeley, and then also Oxford and ICL.
So
Does it mean 10?
all programs finance.
I applied for finance and marketing. Yeah.
I feel like the program regarding finance and marketing are quite different fields. You do like adjust your SOP.
Yeah, of course. So for finance, I wrote one SOP, and for marketing, I wrote another. And they're a little bit similar because, okay, the tricky point here is that you just got, let's say, 5 experiences, and you want to choose the 3 best ones, but you only have the 3 for both marketing and for finance. So everything goes down to how you interpret what that experience brings you. Okay, so for example, for my internship, I was in a bank, and I was doing customer relationship management. And that could look like a marketing job, but that's actually what I'm doing is I'm like designing portfolios for a really high level of it's a bit like private banking, and I'm designing portfolios for the clients who have invested a lot of money in a bank. So this way, if you interpret this way, then it's pretty much finance. But then if I focus more on customer relationship management, then it's more marketing. So everything is how you define or how you explain this experience. All right. So you can add a lot of things to it, even if you didn't really do that well or significant. Right. So leverage what you have. I think it's important.
I always say to them that stretching a little bit is okay.
Right,
But lying
of
is
course.
not.
Right. You have to stick to the reality. You have to do something. And then even though you're just really a small part of it, they never know, right?
So like if you end up all your application before December, and like when would you think is the best time to start all this?
Start as early as you can. Because okay, so start right now. Like for example, you're writing the statement of purpose, right? And okay, so maybe for now you didn't take it that seriously because the deadline is still But if you start right now and at least you have the basic draft of it, and you don't need to start from scratch. Because for me, I don't have any choice. I start from, so the deadline is December, and I start from August, the end of August. I start planning everything. I actually only have a really vague ideas of how an SOP is when I first started writing it, and I told myself it's going to be really easy, it's just the essay. I can spend 1 or 2 nights and I'll finish everything. But then thinking in your head is one thing, and actually writing it down is another. So don't never look you have to prepare as early as possible, because you don't know what kind of problems you'll run into. And also, defining your goal is very important, and it's not as easy as I've just told you. So you have to find what you really want to do. And then, for example, for me, eventually I want to be an investment manager. So you have to research in the field of investment managers. It's very different from iBanking, and it's not commerce banking either, and it's not consulting. So you have to know your goal really well, and then you have to. So that's the long-term goal. But what's the short-term goal for you? So for investment managers, the short-term goal is actually to become a researcher. So you want to be an equity researchers or a fixed income researchers. So these things, you can only learn these things by doing research in it, and it took time. So start as early as you can. You will not regret it. Okay. So any other questions? Or I can talk about schools too, if you want.
Can I ask about how to be prepared for GMAT?
Sure. You can. Yeah. I can talk about that too. So for GMAT, I got 730 out of 800, and it took me 2 months. I worked really hard during 2 months, and so I don't suggest going to Crown School that much, but it depends on you. At least it didn't work for me. So I have all the official guides. You have the red one and the green and the blue, right? Right. So do everything on that and understand every questions. And you have to do it for 3 times or 5 times, again and again, until you have it memorized by your heart. And then out there's also PP, right? Preparation question, or what was that? Yeah, and then also GWZ. Right. So you have to do the PP. You have to do the official guide first, and the PP seconds, because they are official information. But for the GWZ, they are the question from China, and the answer is not that. The answer is not official, so you don't know if they are correct or not. So if you have time, do that. If you don't, then just give it up. And then I think that's pretty much it. Just do everything you have and don't panic, and it will be really easy for you.
I want to ask you that have you ever considered the MBA program after? Because I know maybe the top 7 MBA programs, if you want to be an investment manager, is quite suitable for you.
Yeah.
Because, it contains a lot of finance course in their MBA program, so I'm not sure whether you
Okay.
consider it.
Yeah, I consider, actually, eventually I want to get a PhD, so MBA is not really what I want, but as I've mentioned, as we are talking about this topic, I also want to emphasize on the work experience. Because for business school in the States especially, they focus a lot on working experiences, and internship doesn't cover that. So they're seeking for students who have at least 2 to 3 years of working experiences, and then they want to take that student. So maybe, because I don't know why I failed all the other applications, so the conclusion I get is maybe I didn't have enough working experience, even though I have 2 internship already. As for UK, I know a lot of schools also look for working experience, but a lot of other schools, they will take students right from undergrad. And for MBA, because it requires at least 5 years of working experience if you're going to apply for a really good school in MBA. So when I was considered getting a master first, because I feel that I didn't have that much of academic training enough at undergrads, so I was looking for more in master, and then hopefully after I get a master's degree, it's more easy for me to get a job at once. Right.
How long they focus on working experience, or they just focus on what you do?
2 to 3 years of official working experience. Right. Like you are a full-time employee and not just internship. But maybe internship in Goldman Sachs or JP Morgan can cover that. I don't know.
After we talked about the SOPs this week, I've got a few questions that are really similar. For example, they are currently doing this major, but what they are applying for in postgrad is another major, another field. So how do they make up for these differences in specialty or profession in their SOPs? Do you have any suggestions?
Okay. So I face the same problem too, because I major in finance, and that's money banking, and I want to apply for marketing. So then, one thing you have to think first is, do you have enough courses? Have you ever taken enough courses for example, for marketing, for me? And actually, the department in undergrads, especially in business schools, some of them are they have really strong correlations. I mean, because you didn't go into that specific area, so actually you can jump from one to another. It's very easy for you. So you have to, it's the same thing, you have to interpret what you have. For example, I was trained under the finance department, so I have really strong analytical and statistical ability. And also in certain fields of marketing, they require that ability. So you want to focus, when you apply for marketing in grad schools, then you say, I want to focus on the part, especially that require abilities in statistics or mathematics. So that it would be yeah. So it's all about how well you know your program, how well you know the field. Because for a lot of students, for me also some part of it, I don't want to go to work that soon. So I want to go to grad school. Well, that's part of the reason. But in US or UK, or at least in business schools, they don't want these kind of students. They want students who know why they will go to grad school. So that's why they value working experience that much. Because if you never work or you never try any of the internship, how do you know what you want to be? And how do you know what kind of goal you are going to define? So if you cannot define it, you cannot know where the gap is. And how do you know if this program actually suits you? So that's why I encourage a lot of you, if you have time, go look for an internship. And maybe even if you are really fond of going to an investment banking like GS or JP, but once you get in, maybe you'll find that it's not best suitable for you. Maybe you are more into corporate finance, or maybe you are more into wealth management. So it's only after you try can you know what is most. Thinking is one thing, and doing it is another. So go do an internship, and it is also very helpful because then you will have practical experiences that you can write in your SOPs. Or if you just talk about your clubs at undergrads or your lessons you learn in undergrads, that's not going to make you stand out from the others. Yeah.